Alright, so I actually put tape over this a while back because it was totally faded. Let's get rid of that actually. I'll tidy that up. It'll drive me mad looking at that. Right, okay, so it says it has 850 meg hard drive, 8 megs of RAM, a 1.44 megabyte floppy drive, 256 kilobyte of cache, AST keyboard, AST mouse, and then it says made in Ireland of primarily foreign and some domestic components. So the number there is on it as well, but we can't read it. I think it's actually handy. On the back here it has the number, so 501772-702, and there's a barcode underneath. I'm holding the computer here in my hands while it's floating in the wind. And it says it's an AST Bravo MS P75. There's the new AST logo I was telling you about. So this actually has got that new AST logo on it. On the back of the machine then we have a built-in sound card, as I was saying. We've got the PS2 style keyboard and mouse. We've got our 2 serial ports, our standard serial ports, our 9-pin jobbies, our parallel port, and of course this computer also has built-in VGA thanks to that Mach 64 that's on the motherboard. Okay, so obviously the computer has lost its setup information, so we're going to have to put it back in. So I've never been in this place before. Well, I was, but God knows when that was. So we're going to go and change this information. I think I can just go ahead and change this. So it's month, and we're now with March, and we are now on the 5th. Hey, those dates don't match up with today's date. You made that video in the past. None blocks off. 151156. Floppy and boot. So floppy drive adapter auto built in, so it's going to use the one that's built in. Floppy disk drive A. So this is actually an interesting one here. See this? So that's the old style of IBM floppy drive there. The single-sided machines basically are 360s. The next evolution was dual-sided at 1.2 megabyte. The next evolution there is 720 of the blue type floppy disk you've probably seen, the smaller type. And then you got 1.44 megabyte, and then you got 2.88 megabyte. And I've personally never used or seen a 2.88 megabyte floppy disk. So there you are. Keyboard error report as error. You can have that turned off if you want, in case there's no keyboard plugged into this you're using as a server maybe. Again, numlock off at boot. You can turn that to on so the keypad will work. So we turned it to on. That way I can use that keypad. It's kind of handy. Boot device. Try floppy first. Other option we have, hard drive or floppy. So that's all we have here. We don't have any option for the CD-ROM drive. Boot virus detection. You can leave that off. That just can cause more trouble with the operating system than it's worth. Post testing normal. So we can do like an in-depth diagnostics or normal. Just leave that to normal, unless you're checking to see if there's really something a problem. PnP OS, which is a new thing. So this is a plug-and-play operating system. So we have that enabled because we have on this at the moment we have Windows 98 on it. We're going to have Windows 98 on it anyway, but we don't. Exit the main menu. Primary hard drives. So hard disk adapter auto, built-in auto. We can set that to automatic. And we leave that as off. Exit the main menu. Secondary hard drive, leave it to auto. We don't have a hard drive in there anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So back to that. The video and memory, EGA, VGA. That's given the size of the display memory. It's not changeable. The only way to change that is if you have the original memory, which would have been 1 megabyte. You put that extra bit of RAM in we showed you in the last video, so then it becomes 2 megabytes. Again, with this we added 32 megabytes, took out the old 8 megs and put in 32 megabytes of RAM. So this machine will run at a decent pace. Probably not worth putting any more RAM than that into a machine of this size or scale. To be honest with you, what I'd be running on this would be older DOS games anyway, that type of thing, where the likes of 486 just wouldn't do. But probably run it then into Windows. So we'll have a look. But just at the end of the day, does it really matter? External cache size 256 kilobytes. So that's showing you that cache on the board we showed in the last video. Audio built in. So this is the option where we can basically disable the onboard audio card at Crystal and enable an off-board audio card such as the Creative Labs or Gravis, but I doubt the Gravis would fit into this machine. Well, maybe it would. Certainly has the slots for it anyway. Yeah, it might fit. There's an option there for 2 ISA cards or 1 ISA card and 1 PCI card, so you have an option there. And on the other side obviously we've got the 1 PCI card and we're using that for a network card. But that card that's on that side you wouldn't really be taking in and out because the power supply is in the way as we showed you in the last video. So if you're putting cards in here, it's going to be 2 ISA cards one ISA card and one PCI card. That's basically your options. Ports, again, we've seen this in the last video, the parallel ports and that sort of stuff. There's nothing really too exciting here. Built-in mouse port, enable or disable. Again, no point in disabling that unless you got an add-in card. User security, obvious what that is. Admin, obvious what that is. System information, so it's going to give you the computer's information. So the BIOS version, keyboard controller version, the BIOS loader version, BIOS part number. How about that? And the asset tag that hasn't been put in there. So we can, I don't know if can we add that in ourselves? Nope, we can't add that in ourselves. Thought maybe we could, but we can't. Shift tab, what's that do? Shift tab, no, there's nothing. So we can't add that in. And then update BIOS, so we can actually click on that, and as it says here on the right hand side, exit system setup and update BIOS from a floppy disk. You must have a valid AST BIOS update disk. So I have a funny feeling I updated the BIOS in this machine already, back when I was servicing this machine and when I was able to actually get them. The BIOS on this I updated via the ARI website as it was then, because AST had went bankrupt by the time I got to service this machine. So it was the early 2000s, late 99, and I put Windows 98 on that machine at that stage. Exit system setup. So we're going to go and exit to main menu, and let me see what we have here. Exit system setup, yeah. So exit and save changes, and that should save our changes, and we'll be able to. Okay, so of course we've ran the obligatory DirectX 7. DirectX 7, DirectX Diagnostics. So DirectX Diagnostics is actually quite handy. It's going to work on most machines. You don't have to worry about downloading something to find out what a CPU speed is, or find out something's working, or trying to get CPU Z to work. CPU Z is a great bit of software for getting details on machines, but if you can't get it to run and you can get Windows 95 or Windows 98 to run, install the latest version of DirectX. And there you have it. It'll give you all the information. So as you can see here, it's reading it as an Intel Pentium 75, which is, that's what it is. We're getting our 32 megs of RAM, and we currently got DirectX 7 installed. And I keep picking up that pencil and there's flux on it, and I get it all over my finger. So DirectX files, we got that. The display card then is the ATI Graphics Pro Turbo PCI, and it is the Mach 64, and it's got 2 megs of RAM, which is internal. There's no 3D in that video card. So the only option you have is to install another PCI video card with 3D on it, or what you can do is you could install a likes of the Voodoo 2 card or the Apocalypse 3DFX card. Is it worth us doing that in this machine? I don't think so. I don't think it's really worth it. I'd rather keep this machine as a Pentium 75 as is. I have plenty of other machines anyway, so it doesn't really matter. It wasn't, the man says it was a moot point. One thing I will mention is, when I was talking about the CPU on the last video, I mentioned that I upgraded an old, it was a Zappa motherboard which had a Pentium 90 in it, and I upgraded that Pentium 90 to a 233 megahertz CPU. So in a future video I'll show you that machine and I'll show you what I did, because it might be of interest to you. And I'll show you, voltage settings on the motherboard for that particular board. Like I said, there's no harm in putting an MMX. An MMX CPU will work on a non-MMX machine, and some machines will actually detect the MMX instructions within the software, so it can actually work. It doesn't always work, but most of the times it will work. Some of the boards will just ignore the instructions, and it won't actually come up there as MMX, so that can be a problem, because at the end of the day there are multimedia extensions. But it's always worth a try if you can get the machine to run the correct voltage for the CPU, plug it in, and get an instant upgrade, rather than buying one of those upgrade chips, because there's a good chance you retro guys and girls all have machines knocking about with those CPUs, So we tried Jazz. I have a Jazz Jackrabbit here installed, so we're going to run that now. Okay, so unfortunately this game doesn't run very well with the graphics modes. It's not doesn't really like it too much. So in the options here you'll see that I brought the video down to 8-bit 320 by 320 by 240. Anything else seems to be a bit rough. So I'll say done to that. Let me start a new game. Yeah, it's very zoomed in. Usually I'd run. Yeah, it's very zoomed in. Usually I'd run this off the external hard drive, but in the case of this one I better not, because it's just at least it's running anyway. It definitely needs to. But hey, it's running good enough. No problem with that really. Hey, look at that. Yeah, I'm happy enough with that, in fairness. Wouldn't be horrific anyway. At least it's playable. It's not like a slide, you know. Whoop-ah! Oh, can't seem to make that. Oh, yeah, yeah. You have to do this thing. The old helicopter ears. Actually seems to run a lot quicker because it's so zoomed in. Looks like you're going much faster. Anyway, that's Jazz Jackrabbit. That's working okay. Okay, what we'll do here is we'll just quickly transfer over the Duke Nukem game, and we'll have a look at the system setup for this sound setup and see if it detects the crystal sound card as a Creative Labs or something similar. Be interesting to see what it makes of it. I have absolutely no idea what the IRQs or DMAs are of that sound card. Actually, there might be a way of finding out here in Windows. I think there is, if memory serves correct. We go to settings, control panel. Oh, the old multitask is working well here in this old P75. And then we go down to system. Yo! And it goes. Should actually be in here. Probably be a whole lot of yellow marks, there isn't. So sound adapters, PMP compatible. What would it be? Try that one there. Properties. Driver and resources. Resources. So it's IRQ is number 9. Input output range on the MIDI is 3. So that's the standard range. 9. Will that work or not? That's interesting. Okay, let's see where if I click on properties of this one, try to see where the base address is. I might have it listed. Okay, so interrupt request IRQ 5, DMA 1, DMA 3. That should be okay, yeah? That should be okay. Ah, yeah, it's okay. It's fine. Look. See? 220. So your base address is 220. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So that should be Sound Blaster compatible then. So that's one way to find out what your IRQs and DMAs are on Windows 98. So there you are now. You learned something new, huh? Rally. What the heck is the transferring over now? Good lord, star going. What's all this? Oh yeah, this I have the Duke Nukem Atomic Edition. So I basically copy this. Piracy is a crime. Yeah, so basically to avoid damaging my CD that I have of the Atomic Edition, I transferred over all the files from the CD to the external hard drive, just basically to save it getting broken. So what I'm doing here is I'm transferring over that CD in entirety from the external hard drive onto this hard drive, and then we can have a look at Duke Nukem. So I'll be back in. So we'll run the Duke Nukem 3D setup file here and see what we get. There's a bird flapping away there. Okay, so the music card we want to choose is Sound Blaster, alright, but sound card type. So Sound Blaster are compatible. That's what we need to have a look at. So the interrupt of 5, 8-bit DMA of 1 and 16-bit DMA of 5 is fine. It's let me use that. So we can choose that and continue with 8, 16, stereo, 22. So test sound card. Working fine. Music card. I'll be here. Come get some. Right, so that's working. Looking good. Yep, it's working. Uh-oh. Doesn't sound too good. Get him. At the end of him. That is working. So the big question is, if we try to run something in Windows 98 style DOS, will we have success? That's kind of where we need to be. That's a good question. That is a good question. Maybe we should have installed DOS in this originally and then added a Windows 98 on top of it. Anyway, for another video. Anyway, thanks for watching.